When I was a teenager, I worked at the local supermarket as a checkout chick, which is probably where the plight against plastic originated for me. Every few minutes, I was dealing with a new customer, handing out 5, 10, sometimes 15 plastic bags, and dealing with hundreds of customers every day. This really got me thinking, where are all these plastic bags coming from, and where do they end up? If this is how many plastic bags are being consumed in one supermarket, in one tiny part of the world, how many plastic bags are being produced, consumed, and discarded in all the supermarkets globally? It was overwhelming to fathom the scale of it. Plastic is all around us. In the last 70 years, the use of plastic has become so prolific that we're dependent on it in our everyday lives. About 300 million tonnes of plastic produced every year, and about half of this is for single-use convenience items. Think plastic bags, plastic water bottles, and disposable coffee cups, often used once just for a few minutes before being thrown away. But where is a way? We wipe our hands clean of it after throwing it in the rubbish bin, but where does it end up after that? We love plastic because of its versatility and durability, but it's these very properties that make it such an environmental disaster. Every single piece of plastic ever made still exists in some form somewhere in the world. Every coffee cup, every chip packet. While a lot of it ends up in landfills, out of sight, about 8 million tonnes of this plastic is ending up in the oceans every year. And we all know what happens when it gets there. When I really started to delve into the issues of plastic pollution, it dawned on me just how big this problem was, and how ingrained it had become into our everyday lives. Every visit to the beach became a clean-up, and walking down the aisle of any supermarket has never been the same for me. I see the plastic everywhere. And I was determined to do something about it. I wanted to stop plastic at its source, so I went on a bit of a mission to reduce plastic as much as I could within my own life. But I also wanted to inspire others to do the same. So I reflected on where this journey began for me, with plastic bags. A friend and I got together, and we started brainstorming some ideas to tackle plastic bags in our local community. We found that one of the biggest barriers to people not using reusable bags was often the expense, a lack of awareness, or simply the fact that, despite their best intentions, they forget to bring their reusable bags to the shops. So we thought, as a starting point, if we could provide an availability of reusable bags at the local shopping area, people might find it easier to break their bag habits. Our first hurdle here was where we're going to get our hands on stacks of reusable bags that are sustainably made. We couldn't find an Australian manufacturer of reusable bags, so the next best option was to make the bags ourselves. And to take sustainability to the next level, we'd use recycled fabric. The problem with this idea was that neither of us could sew. So we put a call out to friends, family, and the general public for donations of recycled fabric and volunteers to help us to turn that fabric into bags. Within weeks, we'd received truckloads of donated fabric, and we started having regular community sewing bees, where anyone could come along and get involved in the process. This is how Boomerang Bags was born. With the help of hundreds of volunteers, our little community of burly heads had made thousands of reusable bags and spread them throughout the local shopping area, as a means to raise awareness and to provide an alternative to plastic bags. What we learned throughout this process is a lot about the power of community to create change. We noticed something really wonderful happening at every community gathering. Amongst the humming of sewing machines, people were socialising, connecting and interacting. They were sharing their life stories, but not only that, they were talking to each other about plastic, about its effects on the environment, about where they'd just bought their new reusable coffee cup, and about how they'd just convinced their neighbours to go plastic bag free. Boomerang Bags had suddenly become a platform where people could discuss and brainstorm solutions to plastic pollution, to connect and to share and learn from each other, and to find a sense of purpose in contributing to their local community. So we started getting contacted by people around Australia that also wanted to make bags. We couldn't be everywhere at once, so we put our heads together and we developed a toolkit that would empower community leaders to drive the initiative locally. Within about a year, there were 10 Boomerang Bag communities up and running around Australia. Another 2 years on, and there are 300 Boomerang Bag communities now underway around the world. From New Zealand to Norway, community volunteers have collectively made over 80,000 reusable bags that are in circulation around the globe. This equates to about 40 million plastic bags being replaced and about 25,000 kilos of waste diverted from landfill. Every Boomerang Bag has a story, from where its materials were sourced to who it was made by and how far it's travelled. They're used and reused, boomerang to friends, families, as a means to start a conversation, to connect people to issues of waste, connect them to each other, and to inspire them to make changes, small changes in their everyday lives that will help them to live a little more sustainably. Essentially, the bags are acting as a catalyst for change. So what can you do to reduce your plastic footprint? Firstly, start to observe how much plastic you're currently consuming in your everyday life. It sounds a bit weird, but the best place to start is by having a look in your garbage bin, and you'll soon realise where a lot of your waste is coming from. Get creative about how you and your family can reduce the use of plastic in your everyday life. One of the biggest ways that plastic finds its way into our lives is through the single-use convenience items: water bottles, plastic bags, plastic straws, take-out containers. Invest in some reusable alternatives to these items and get into the habit of taking them everywhere with you. Just like turning the tap off when you brush your teeth, it's all about creating good habits. Food and product packaging is another big one, and a lot of this can be easily avoided by shopping a little more consciously. Opt for glass and paper packaging over plastic, and look for your local farmers markets and bulk food stores, and experiment with making things from scratch to avoid the packaging altogether. Lastly, like a boomerang bag, be a catalyst for change. Thanks to TEDx, all of you guys are now a proud owner of your very own boomerang bag. If you take nothing else away from this talk, but to use and reuse this bag instead of plastic, you've already saved 550 plastic bags from being used in 1 year. Collectively, that's 100,000 plastic bags saved in this room alone. Take the challenge one step further. Boomerang your bag to a friend or the bagless stranger at the supermarket, and when you do, start a conversation. Encourage them to use it and tell them why it's so important. Share with them what you've learnt about going plastic bag free, and show them how they can too. Boomerang bags originated from a conversation between two people over coffee, so you never know where these conversations might lead. The problem with plastic is really big and overwhelming, but it's important not to underestimate your power as an individual to create change. Ultimately, the solution starts with us. Thank you.